Okay, so we made this video 1 month ago, talking about OddsShark on Twitter. This is pretty much one of the main sports betting websites, I guess you could say, that exists for hockey voting and hockey-related awards. So this website is used by many people to go out there and place bets on who they think is going to win awards, who they think is going to do well and all that stuff. You kind of get what sports betting is, don't you? And the previous video talked about their odds that they released for the Calder Trophy, which is the NHL's trophy for Rookie of the Year. This video was published back on August 12th, and the betting odds they posted were from August 11th. You can see the screen right here. Drysdale, Zegras, Byfield, Seider, Robertson, Podkolzin, Raymond, and Caufield in reverse order were the top guys in the eyes of the betting people who made the odds. If you don't know how to read this, it's pretty simple. The number right there indicates how much money you would win if you bet $100, and because it goes this way, Caufield, if you bet $100, you would win $115. Raymond, if you bet $100 on Raymond and he actually wins, you'd win $225. Drysdale, they are thinking he has a lower chance of winning it, which is why if you bet $100 on Drysdale and you're correct, you would win a significantly higher amount of money. It's pretty much reverse order. Who do they think has a higher chance at winning the Calder, and the higher their chances are, the less money you can get on a payout if you bet on them and win. Well, that was a month ago, and now we have ourselves some brand new Calder odds published by this same publisher over here, and it is really interesting to see just exactly where their ideas lie, because it's a really different list compared to what we had before. So I'll just go over this list one more time here. This is the previous one. Caufield, Raymond, Podkolzin, Robertson, Seider, Byfield, Zegras, Drysdale. Let's keep that in the back of our minds as we go over the new and updated list from September 2nd on OddsShark.com. Now, we're going to go about this in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to show you the list right here. This is the list of the top 12 guys that have likelihoods for the Calder published on this website, and if you go through the list, you can kind of recognize some names over here. Zegras, Caufield, Raymond, Newhook, Podkolzin, Knight, Seider, Byfield, Tkachev, Robertson, Boldy, and Drysdale, and you can see the odds on the side over there. Let's talk about these guys in reverse order, starting with Jamie Drysdale at $2,500. If you bet $100 on Drysdale, he wins, you win $2,500. It's a different odd, actually, compared to what they had before. He had $2,000 previously. So what they're saying here is from August 11th to today, they think Jamie Drysdale has a lower percent chance of winning today than he did back then. So take that as you will. A new addition to this list is Matt Boldy with an 1,800% odds. He's a really interesting one because, in my opinion, he's not even the number one Calder guy in the wild. I'd rather have Marco Rossi here, and in fact, if it were up to me, I'd put Rossi at a much higher percent odds at winning than Matt Boldy's odds of $1,800. Nick Robertson is over here as well with 1,600. He had himself a plus 400 rating in the previous list, meaning that the guys who are making these lists really think that Robertson is not going to win. So, I mean, hey, spots are up for grabs in the Toronto top 6. There are so many players that are going to be cycling in and around the final few spots on those wings in the top 6 of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we'll see if Nick Robertson can establish himself as one of those. And if he does, his Calder odds will be a lot better, I think, heading into the year. Because, come on, Calder is a point race. We kind of know that. Next up, though, Vladimir Tkachev is interesting, especially with the guy he is tied with in QB. You have yourselves two LA guys right here. Tkachev's a guy whom we've already spoken about in a previous video. He's a really good KHL player, and in fact, he was just a few weeks away from not even being eligible for the Calder this year because he would have been too old. He is one of the oldest guys to play in this year to actually be eligible for the Calder, and the way he was playing in Russia, it was really good, don't get me wrong. He was really skilled, he had some really good mitts and some really nice shootout goals as well, but if you're going to go out there and expect Tkachev to come over and be the next Panarin, hold your horses there, man. There are so many players in the KHL who had more points than Tkachev who are barely even NHL caliber that I don't want to go out there and get my hopes too high up for this guy. We already spoke about all this stuff in the previous video, so if you want to get an extended look at his profile, go ahead and check that out. Quinton Byfield is over here too, and honestly, plus 1,200 makes sense to me, mostly because we don't even really know if Byfield's even going to make the league. Like, I think he's honestly ready. It's just who knows with Turcotte, with Deneau, with Velarde, with Kopitar, if they're even really going to explore the option of giving Byfield a legit spot this season. They don't really need to because there's no real rush over here. And plus, even if they did, I mean, you're not going to play Byfield more than Deneau or Kopitar, right? From the get-go, he's going to have a really tough time establishing himself as a top NHL point producer, especially on the LA Kings because they have so many other centers, so Byfield at 1,200 kind of makes a lot more sense now than it did before. Moritz Seider is over here with 1,000. And it's kind of interesting because he isn't the only Red Wing on this list. Raymond is actually at a plus 300, meaning that these guys who wrote the list think that Raymond has a significantly higher chance at winning the Calder. Seider, to me, is super underrated. He's one of the only defensemen on this list. And when it comes to defensive play, I mean, this is a guy who could legitimately be contending for Norris's by like 5 years from now. So the way that he has been progressing in Sweden, in the AHL and all that, it's been so astronomically great that I honestly don't even know where to put the cap. Like, we know the Calder is mostly a points race, which is why Cale Makar won it the other year, and Quinn Hughes was the runner-up. But for Moritz Seider playing on a Red Wings team, it's going to be difficult to go out there and actually get a lot of points. So who really knows? I mean, if you really like Seider, go for it. It's a good bet to make because I think Seider is going to be fantastic. Above him, though, is Spencer Knight. And this is a really interesting one as well because we kind of know that Spencer Knight is going to be the de facto starter for the Florida Panthers because, come on, I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky, who really knows how good that guy's going to be? Chris Driedger's already gone. Spencer Knight was undefeated in his NHL stint, except for that one game he played in the postseason. But still, he was fantastic. He's 19 years old. He came over to the NHL and absolutely stole games left and right. He was not out of place in the slightest. So Spencer Knight over here as a potential Calder candidate, it definitely makes sense. If you want to win the Calder as a goalie, win games, make a lot of saves, and just win a lot of games too. Did I mention winning a lot of games? Yeah. He can go out there. Florida's a good team. If he is the de facto starter, I think he's going to have a really good shot at actually being a contender. It's just the magnitude of how good that is going to be compared to the point production of some of the guys at the top of this list are going to get too. That's what you have to weigh when you make your Calder decisions. Next up, Vasili Podkolzin, $750 bet over here if you bet $100 and you get it correct. That's a really interesting one. Honestly, if you've been following my entire channel over here, you kind of know that I don't really think Podkolzin is going to be the biggest point producer. So to see him still here as one of the top guys with Calder odds, it is kind of interesting. Now, previously, they actually had him tied for third with Nick Robertson with a $400 payout if you bet $100. But now he is down here at $750 instead. Hey, if you're a Canucks fan and you really think Podkolzin is going to win it, you think he's going to get 30 goals or whatever, which is unrealistic in my opinion, but let's say you do believe that, bet on Podkolzin. You'll win a lot more money now than you would have before if you made this bet back then. But either way, Podkolzin is over here. He's probably going to be a third-line guy on the Canucks right away, so I'm not really too sure how many points he is going to get. But then going over onto the top guys, Alex Newhook. If you bet $100 and he wins, you get $400. He wasn't even on the previous list in the top 8. Newhook is fantastic. He is like the discount Jack Hughes, Connor McDavid kind of style, where he really dominates the game with his speed. I love Alex Newhook and the way that he's able to play. He was fantastic in the BCHL, fantastic in the NCAA, and he didn't look out of place when he made his Colorado Avalanche debut in the postseason and in the regular season. You give this guy a spot in the lineup, you give this guy a role, he will produce. I'm a very big believer in Alex Newhook, which is why seeing him up here, not a surprise. Honestly, one of the most underrated picks in the 2019 draft, in my opinion, bar none. Next up, though, $100 will win you $300 if you bet on Lucas Raymond and you get things right. Raymond in the previous list was at $225 and he was actually second. Now he is third. It's really interesting to see Raymond over here because a lot of Red Wings fans don't even know if Raymond is going to make the team. Like, he was really good in the SHL. We get that. We know how talented of a prospect he is and how aware he is of the game. It's just the Red Wings don't necessarily need a guy like Raymond in their lineup right away. Would you rather have him developing in Grand Rapids, which is just down the road, where he's getting top-line minutes, he's maybe playing 18, 19 minutes a night against top-team power plays and penalty kill units, or would you rather have him in a middle six role with the Red Wings in the NHL, which are going to be a bad team and not really produce? Because, I mean, aside from the big guys like Bertuzzi, Larkin, Zadina, Vrana, and I guess Pia Sutar as well, it's not really guaranteed that anybody's going to go out there and produce. Nevertheless, the guys who are coming over straight from the SHL. So, for Raymond, kind of want to hold my horses a little bit over there. I'd honestly say that Seider has a better chance of winning the Calder than Raymond does because I do think Seider is a lot more mature in the role that he has on the team because obviously, you know, Seider's not a forward. He's not going to produce as much points as Raymond will be. But defensive play definitely should go into it when you're thinking about players who make an impact. And oh my goodness, I'm thinking too much about the Red Wings. Let's go over onto the top 2 over here. Cole Caufield is no longer the number 1 guy. In the previous list, he was number 1. If you bet $100, you would win 115 if you got it right. Now, he is second. If you bet 100, you would win 200 instead. Now, nothing really happened to Caufield. He's not worse today than he was before. It just appears that the guys who made this list are a little bit more optimistic about another player who is over here. For Cole Caufield, I mean, come on. You don't need me to talk about Caufield. We know how good this guy is. The top guy guy, though, Trevor Zegras. His odds are at even, meaning that they believe he has the highest chance of winning the Calder out of all the rookies in the NHL. If you bet $100, you will win $100. There's not even an amplified winning rate here. It's just, hey, if you bet $5, you'll win $5 if you get it right. They're really high on Zegras, and in fact, they have an entire scouting report on their website over here why Zegras is the favorite. It's kind of funny, though, because a month ago they had Zegras as a plus 2,000. Assuming they're correct here, and that actually goes down this way, Zegras wins it, followed up by Caufield and Raymond as a runner-up too. If you made the bet a month ago that says, okay, yeah, I think Zegras is going to win it, you'd want so much money if everything goes the way these guys think it's going to go. So obviously, this is just betting odds. It's not really anything solidified over here. It's just people projecting who they believe has higher odds to win and therefore would have higher odds at getting bigger payouts. So if you're a really big believer in Jamie Drysdale, you will have an opportunity to win a whole bunch of money if you get that prediction correct. But either way, talk to me in the comments. What do you think about the new Calder Trophy odds as published by OddsShark.com? A link is in the description to the full list if you want to go ahead and read that. What do you think of Zegras, Caufield, Raymond, Newhook, Podkolzin, Moritz Seider, Byfield, Tkachev, Robertson, Boldy, and Drysdale in that order? I'm surprised Cole Perfetti is not on here. I'm surprised Marco Rossi is not on here. Talk to me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this 99. And bye.